CTV News, Christchurch roading and assurances from the Prime Minister. Welcome back to CTV News, coming from the Mainland Press Building in Wairaki Road. And first up, traffic has become a huge headache for commuters, as Emily Cooper explains.
Every car owner living in Canterbury will understand the stress of traffic. With so many roads damaged or closed, traffic congestion has become a new norm. And Civil Defence are still unsure about the future of the roads and how long they will take to fix.
So obviously huge damage to the roads in Christchurch. After the 4 September earthquake, we had identified about 1,200 defects on the road that needed to be repaired. As a result of this earthquake, on 22nd February, we're up to 52,000 defects now, so considerably more repairs that we need to make as a result of the February earthquake compared to September. And we're really just, at the moment, making the roads safe. So we can't actually carry out full repairs until we replace whatever it is that's under the road that's failed and made the road fail. So the likes of stormwater and sewer pipes and power cables and those sorts of things are damaged under the road. We need to wait for them to be repaired before we can finally come through and fully repair the road. So in the meantime, what we're doing is making temporary repairs, and it's all about road safety. So basically getting rid of potholes, literally pulling vehicles out of holes and then filling the hole back in to make it safe for vehicles to drive back on the road.
Alan says Civil Defence are still coming to terms with how damaged the roads are.
We're still getting to grips with the amount of sewer damage, and we're putting cameras down every sewer pipe to try and ascertain what the damage is to the pipes. But it's certainly more than a year, put it that way.
He says people need to be patient and tolerant when it comes to commercial vehicles.
We're doing a lot of work, in making those repairs and making roads more drivable, but also we've done a lot of work in terms of, you'll see a number of initiatives, sharing lanes. We've got a tidal lane happening in Curlitz Road now just to try and reduce congestion around the city. And we've seen a huge impact, over the last 2 to 3 weeks since we've started putting those measures into place, where congestion is less than it used to be. So we've gone from a situation of pretty much gridlock to a situation where traffic is moving now, and we'll continue to make changes as we can. So we've identified there's sort of 50 specific areas in the city where we have then gone through and making changes to those roads. One of the things that we appreciate is that it does take time to get around the city, and we'd really ask drivers to be courteous and to respect other road users. And look, a plea from us is if you see a contractor vehicle or a truck, please let them come into your queue of traffic, because they are the people that are fixing our city for us. If we can get them moving, then it will really help to fix the city faster.
Inspector Al Stewart of the Christchurch Police says they have seen an increase in general offending when it comes to traffic regulations since the quake.
The average speed on Canterbury roads is up relatively highly. People aren't wearing seatbelts, they're using their cell phones, they're going through intersections and crashing red lights and stuff like that. It's just unacceptable, it's got to stop.
He says the police were tolerant towards road users after the quake, but now people need to comply with road rules in order to keep Christchurch roads safer.
Well, look, we've been really tolerant after the earthquake in relation to people using their cell phones and stuff like that, people running businesses from their cars and using cell phones. We understand people want to talk to their family members, have got to run their businesses. We also understand that cars were being directed the wrong way up streets and through intersections where the lights were flashing, and there's been a lot of confusion around stuff. That's basically all sorted out now, and people really need to start complying with the traffic regulations again. One of the biggest concerns for us is the behaviour of drivers, especially when there's children in the car. They're acting as role models, and if their children see them not using their seatbelts, speeding, using their cell phones, they're going to do those things as well. Look, road safety is everyone's responsibility, it's every driver's responsibility, and we'd just like Canterbury drivers to be responsible for their driving and make sure they're adhering to the traffic regulations.
Police are now enforcing a 30-kilometre zone in the areas with the most road damage.
Okay, so there's large parts of Christchurch that currently have temporary 30k speed zones. Those 30k zones are there for a reason. The reasons for that is it's probably not safe on those roads to go the normal 50k's. We really need people complying with that. We're really disappointed to see some people are actually passing other vehicles that are doing that 30k's. And if we see that, if we catch those drivers will be going to court. That's just unacceptable.
Winter's looming large in Christchurch, and an EQC saying minor damage inspection could still take months. Many are very concerned.
After the September quake, many people were left without chimneys, leaking roofs and cracks through their houses. Now the future is even more uncertain. Some of those who can live in their houses face huge power bills, and some think it will not be worth using their old forms of heating at all. So how do you usually heat your house?
It's usually heated in heating panels in the floor, which you can adjust on a temperature adjuster.
And so how have you been faring through this cold week just been?
We've just been wrapping up warm. We've had a plug-in heater that we've been using. But yeah, there's nothing really we can do to get rid of these drafts until things get set up properly. Hopefully we'll be able to get this heating system checked out to make sure it's okay electrically. And we'll just have to manage the best we can, but it's going to be pretty cold. I mean, it's going to be a long time before the cracks all get fixed, and the gap that runs down the side of the garage door is pretty decent. Yeah, it's all internal, and until we get things fixed up, until we know that it's fine electrically, there's not much point in using it.
The recent cold snap that's hit Christchurch has left many Cantabrians wondering how they're going to fare this winter. The Earthquake Commission says minor damage claims in Christchurch will not be inspected for around 8 months. We spoke to one man who was living in his house with a leaking roof and no way to heat his house. He says the EQC had come to inspect his house and had left him a letter to say they would be back to reassess it in 4 to 6 months. The EQC says it is focusing on full inspections as its rapid assessment process winds down.
However, Prime Minister John Key has been putting minds at rest for older residents in the hardest hit areas.
Prime Minister John Key attended the 10th birthday of the Wainoni Avonside Community Services Trust, but he wasn't just attending to eat some earthquake birthday cake. Key answered the pressing questions of elderly residents in Christchurch's worst hit suburbs. And he was asked some tough questions by the audience, including questions about insurance and the future of their houses and land.
Anxiety levels will be there because they're unsure about insurance, they're unsure about exactly how that works and what level of compensation that they'll get, whether they'll ultimately be able to live in their home. Then they're right through the practical issues of clearing their chemical toilets. But look, they're all good questions, they're very, very respectful. Given the circumstances they're facing, they're in great heart.
Key reassured the audience that they would not have to pay for the quake, and he reassured residents in quake-stricken suburbs that they will be able to build elsewhere. He says the government will be working quickly to help people move on and that it would be sooner rather than later. Key reiterated the fact that New Zealand has an ageing population. By 2050, 1 million New Zealanders will be aged over 85. There are now 600 fewer beds for the elderly in Christchurch. Residents at the Kate Shepherd Retirement Village have had to move elsewhere. There is now concern elderly residents whose houses have been red stickered and who do not want to rebuild will have nowhere to go due to the lack of retirement villages.
And that issue for older New Zealanders who are in retirement villages is quite a significant issue. It's difficult for people at that stage in life to move. It's often we're moving them away from their families and their natural infrastructure, so we need to get them back as quickly as we can.
He says the government will be attempting to not neglect the elderly of Christchurch.
We hope not. We tried very hard as the government right after both of the earthquakes to be in contact with people that were living alone. A lot of calls were made by Work and Income to make sure that older New Zealanders had support. And this is a time where families rally around, but not everyone has a family. Look, I think for people as they sometimes get older, the complexities of some of these issues become more challenging, and they have slightly less options. But I think you've seen that this is a community that is banding together and trying very hard. We're giving them all the support that we can, but I think, and they're doing their very best actually. I take my hat off to them.
So what would you say to those who maybe don't have the supportive family around them?
Well, absolutely try and make sure they contact us. So both through Work and Income or various other entities that we have, we're there to provide them support, and it's absolutely critical that they reach out for that support. We are adding a lot of resources here on the ground to make sure that that's available to them, even if it's just a matter of going out and talking to them. And it's good if they can get involved with community groups. There are a lot of groups like this one that are there and that will give people an opportunity to share their stories and their frustrations and maybe give solutions to them as well.
Organiser Betty Chapman says she wanted the Prime Minister to come and reassure the elderly of the eastern suburbs.
Basically, they really want to know what's happening, as you heard in the forum, what's happening with our land, so we can move forward to a positive future. We want to look forward. We don't want to have our older years with anxiety and stress, and that's what it has been ever since September 4, really. And then, of course, with 22nd, even double stress. We've had lots of anxiety, people coming in here with anxiety issues, and if you and I were in our 80s, we'd be the same.
She says she hoped hearing from the Prime Minister would help.
I thought, right, I'll still ask him to come and talk to the Christchurch East people, because they really do need the future. They need something to work forward to, not what's happened. They need to move forward positively and be reassured, so they're not so stressed. We've had anxiety people, some of them are older people, and going in with, they thought they were having a heart attack, and it actually wasn't, it was anxiety.
Betty believes many older people will not return to Christchurch, some who have lived in Christchurch their whole lives. She says Key was very positive about coming to speak.
And then after the earthquake, I said, please come. My ladies, these people here need a reassurance for a future in Christchurch East. And I pleaded with them, and so saying that there was anxiety and stress and with them, and that they needed a happier way forward. And we need people to come back to Christchurch East. We need to populate this area again. We can't lose the suburb. It's a good suburb. But we do need to rebuild stronger. That's how I feel.
Another concern raised was the chemical toilets used by so many elderly residents and their inability to empty them. When full, the toilets weigh around 20 kilograms. National MP Aaron Gilmore, who describes the Prime Minister as the best boss he's ever had, says there are still 70,000 houses in the no-flush zone, and he is one of them. However, he says 1,000 houses per week are being cleared. He says the local government will be looking at a scheme to help the elderly with chemical toilets.
After the break, the Catholic Cathedral and dumping rubble in Littleton.